This is Turck Talk, World of Automation podcast. In our series, we explain changes in industry automation. Today, we have a very special guest, Christian Wolf, Managing Director of Turck Group. Christian, welcome in the studio.
Tomasz, it's a great pleasure to be here and have that Turck Talk with you.
Yes, it's a great pleasure for us too. And thank you for accepting our invitation for the podcast and for the recording. I'm Tomasz Bazan, and we starting our conversation with the very obvious thing, because we are recording in Poland, Opole, Poland, and in the Turck Poland headquarters, we have a studio here. Christian, do you remember how many times you've been in Poland?
You start already with a very challenging question. I really have to think about it now, but I would guess around 10, 12 times over all those years that I'm with Turck, and that's 29 years. So I think that's around the average, I would say.
Okay. How do you feel in Poland now?
You know, I always feel great in Poland. It has a lot of similarity to Croatia, where my family is from. When I see the villages a little bit, the mentality is very similar. And what I really like is the empathy of the people, the welcome that you feel when you are here, the relationships that are here, and all of those colleagues. As Turck Poland has his special anniversary, some of those colleagues I know for 25 years. And that's always especially it feels coming a little bit like home, always. And it's really a great pleasure to be today here, meeting with customers, colleagues and friends and partners for so long time. And I really enjoy it. So it's a great day today.
Okay, thank you. Before we start talking about Turck, about your history, about your career, I would like to ask you about the occasion that we are here today, this 25th anniversary of Turck Poland. And how do you view the Polish industry then, 25 years ago, and now, in the broader context of European economy?
Yeah, I think Poland has been really in the last century, I would say, really a rising star when it comes down to Europe. It always had a strong industrial foundation, but when it started, it was, I would say, an emerging market, a catch-up economy. And today, if we take a look at Poland, I would say it's really one of the industrial engines in Europe, with almost 37, 38 million inhabitants, a very strong footprint in the industry. A lot of companies in the meantime have internationalized, and coming here from the airport, you've seen so many companies invested here in Poland, internationally, but also locally. And I think when you also see how people developed, what we see is a strong educational approach. Whenever we talk to Polish people, most of them studied, a lot of them have great engineering careers. And I think that is something how the society as itself developed. It's really an important part of Europe, of the economy. And also for Turck, it was a decision to start very early with a sales company. But then we also continued in 21 to build our first bigger plant, also outside of Germany, besides China and United States, that was in Lublin. And that's also one of the success stories we have, driven by the very good people that we can acquire here in Poland, engaged, loyal, passionate about what they do, and very high skilled.
Poland also became and make some transition from the sales market to the production side also.
Yeah. Exactly. Because when we started in sales, first we are here because we've very early understood that Poland is going to be a very important automation market. So 25 years ago, when we started with our today's managing director, Piotr Glinka, he was number one with Andrzej Wieren. still running the technical department here. It was really a kind of a cold start, starting with 2 people, but believing that industry investments will follow significantly into Poland.
They were pioneers here in Poland.
They were absolutely pioneers, and also pushing us in Germany, because Piotr used to be a person working for our sales partner before, and he was always knocking on our door and I said, hey, we have to start in Poland, right? He really pushed us doing that. And I have to say, it's a brilliant success story. If we see how we started with 2 people, basically from scratch, with a computer and a handful of sensors in our hand, I think the development shows today we are almost 50 people here at Turck Poland. The target is becoming more than almost 20 million euro company sales-wise. I think that's a very, very strong footprint that we are having here. And then the next big step was also showing the commitment to Poland, believing in that people and believing in that country, really now building the factory. And in Lublin today, we have approximately 300 employees working in Lublin, making connectivity products, but also a lot of sensor products are there, miniature sensors, M8, M5, and all those things, but also field bus solutions. And in the meantime, it's Poland is definitely one of the most important countries in the Turck Group, sales-wise, but also from a production and engineering perspective.
Mm-hmm. And I think that we should remember that the workforce also changed. Workers are much skilled than
absolutely
25 years ago in Poland.
You're fully right. I mean, the skilled working is something, but also I would say also the wealth of the people and the salaries increased heavily. What we also see, because as an automation company, Piotr and our team wouldn't have been able to grow if the economy is not growing, and basically also the need for automation is there, right? I mean, the one thing is that there is a lot of skilled working people, engineering part, but on the other hand is also with the rising salaries that also came to Poland. And when you travel here, you see that it's a very high developed country. Also, the need for automation is here. And Poland also, from his position, it's basically between the Western and the East European part. It plays a very important platform role when it comes down to logistics to develop Europe in the right direction. And that's why we invested that heavily in Poland.
Okay. Christian, what was your career path in Turck?
Yeah, it started very early, and it was funny enough because I used to play handball. The club that we also here sponsor from Poland, Gwardia Opole. I played handball in Halva, where our manufacturing plant is, and this is how I got to know Turck as a student. I was studying business and technology management, and we had to do a semester outside of Germany, sometimes abroad. And that Turck was at that time the sponsor of our handball club. And this is how I got to know Werner Turck. And then I started as a student. I did a 7 months internship in the United States at Turck. And that was my first impression of Turck. Very developed country, very modern style company that was really addressing the needs of tomorrow. And I really enjoyed it. And when I came back from the United States, then I had to finish my studies. And then I got a job opportunity. And then I started as an management assistant to our founders and shareholders who were running the company. So I worked then for Hans Turck and Hermann Hermes in Mülheim. Had special tasks to do some market development projects. Then I was focusing on marketing, how to do a global brand and a corporate design. So I became then director of corporate marketing worldwide. And then in 2008, I started in 97. So I'm now 29 years with the company. Unbelievable. And Tomasz, if you would have asked me in the very beginning, I would have said, no way. It was really tough to work with our founders. Not easy guys, very challenging, but I learned a lot, I have to say, from all 3 of them. And then in 2008, I became managing director and then responsible for sales, marketing, and also for the corporate strategy of the company. And that was also the time where we started shifting from a pure sensor company to a system solution company. But what always drove me at Turck was the culture. What I always liked is our founders, shareholders, our colleagues. We were always very international. We had an international spirit. It was always a family culture. And this is also today, when we see our colleagues here in Poland, I think that's a big benefit of Turck. And there were always opportunities, and there were also times where I might thought, is that the right thing to do? Should I stay that long, or do I need to do something different? But I always decided I love what I do, and I like the people that I work with. And that made me stay till 29 years, so 4 years longer than Turck Poland is existing. And it's still fun working here with all the dynamics in the world that we see. So it's never boring, I can say.
Okay. You said about some kind of transition from the family-owned company to the corporational organization. And what are the main differences in the company culture?
Yeah, I would say, when the last managing director who was a shareholder was Uli Turck, he retired in 2018. And now we are run by an external management, 3 managing directors, Stefan Grotzke, who is responsible for operations and supply chain, Christian Pauli, who is here with me, finance, HR, legal, IT, and I run sales, marketing, strategy, and also on an interimistic base, R&D. We report to an advisory board. The family is still a family-owned company, right? And I think the family is still close to the companies. Some of the shareholders even work in the companies. 2 of our shareholders are working as employees. So they take a look that things are going well. I think that's a normal process in a company that's getting bigger and bigger. There is not always, maybe not the perfect time that somebody from the family can enter the business, but it always can happen, right? That might be the case that at some point of time, some family shareholder members also may become a managing director in the future. This is very open. But what I liked, the family spirit never changed. And I think with Christian Pauli and myself being in the management for so long, I think we learned a lot about the culture. And there is an easy rule, I would say, Tomasz, and it's, I think, everywhere in the world. Treat people like you would like to be treated. I think that is something that I really learned a lot from our founders to be part of the team, right? Some managers are getting some ways, being very autonomous, are not close to customers, are not close to their people anymore. And I think that has always been our strength. It's challenging when you have 32 companies worldwide being close to everybody, but it's important. And this is why traveling is also part of our job and being close to the people. And I think that spirit and that culture is the family spirit. No matter if the family is in the management or an external management is here, we are raised by that family and we are cultivated by that family as well. And we know what is important, I think. And that's what we have to do to make our people believe in Turck and stay as long as we do.
I know that you're also preparing engineers to some kind of entrepreneurial thinking, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's important.
Is it hard to do, or is it difficult?
It's a mindset shift, right? Engineers believe always in innovation. Right? And innovation is everything. And sometimes, especially in German, engineers tend to over-engineer, right? We have another idea and some more ideas, but there is a time to market, right? Mm-hmm. Customers are waiting, and innovation is a cycle. You have to be fast. And I think that's also a big change. First of all, entrepreneurial innovation means time, means money, and it sometimes needs, if you are not able to make innovation, you also have to be good at design to cost and cost to function. Because sometimes you have products that don't have the ultimate competitive advantage. Some do. That's great. But this is something I think we have to learn. And this is what we also have to learn, that in the engineering, in the spirit of our founders, they always thought our core competencies always have to be in Germany. And that is over, right? We are a global company. We have German roots, but today we have more than half of the people outside of Europe even, and we just have 1/3 of the company employees in Germany. So we have to be closer to the market. We have to adopt that entrepreneurial spirit into other locations, like in Poland with our manufacturing, engineering, sales, but also in the US, in Mexico, in China. And we have to be close to our customers. And a customer and a partner has to experience Turck no matter where he is at the same time. But that entrepreneurial spirit, and this is impacted that we give our managing directors a lot of freedom to operate. There is a corporate strategy. Nobody should leave the corporate strategy. Everybody can drive as fast as he can on a highway, means local adaptation, has to follow the corporate strategy. But within that, there is a lot of freedom to operate for our managing directors.
Because they know the specific of the national markets.
Absolutely. I mean, they know the specific of that market, and they also have to push us to listen and understand what the market needs are. Because different markets, different industries have very different requirements. And in the past, Turck tended to have a very strong technology push thinking. So the global product management and the global headquarter came up with ideas. And then we said, hey, here is a product, go out and sell. And sometimes the people said, why don't you ask us, right? We would have told you, don't do that. It's not going to be successful. And I think that has also been a change why we are growing in companies, in countries like United States, Asia, in China, in South Korea, but also East Europe has been a big accelerator for growth. We understood and say we need to build products for the world with local adaptations. And this is why we also built this local for local centers of competence for production and engineering to react and adapt local market needs. But we need that push from our managing directors showing us a need and the speed that we have to establish to come to local needs.
Mm-hmm. That's the part of the overall Turck concept of operating on the different regions of the world, but we will talk about this a bit later. And let's go back for the moment to the history of Turck, because this company is operating for many years. And as different companies, I think that Turck had to go through the different stages of market, of developing, of technology, etc. So what are the crucial moments in the history of Turck and in the history of your products?
There are plenty of crucial moments, I can say. I think, first of all, it was the spirit of the founders and the vision to see that sensors will become a major important trend in the industry. And with that starting in 1965, it was really an early start. That was a crucial point to believe that automation, electrification is going to play an important part. We always were driven by innovation, right? That was something where we came up with very, very high quality premium solutions. In the very beginning, that was a big belief of our founders. But on the other hand, what was also very important was very fast to internationalize. A lot of companies stayed in Germany for quite some time. And we have to say in the United States, our first subsidiary outside of Germany was United States in 1975. And two of our three founders were very, very low key in English. Hermann Hermes had a good English. Hans and Werner really trained their own English. But they were very bold taking decisions and say, we have to capture new markets. And I think that was always a driven being fast when it comes down to internationalization. So 75, we built at US. That was a very, very important decision. We've been the first one doing that and having a cooperation with today still our partner, Banner Engineering, was at that time the founder, Bob Fayfield. They were, so to say, friends and built that market independently from each other together to become market leaders. Banner in photoelectrics and we in inductives, Turck. Then another crucial moment from an internationalization point of view was China. We built it China in 94 as a 100% subsidiary of Turck. At that time, that was almost impossible. Everybody said you have to do a joint venture, but it is like it is in China. Everything seems impossible, but everything is possible at the same time. So our guys really made it there. And then we started also, I would say, the development of East Europe was another big step that really started in the early 90s, that we started with Poland, but was also with Czech Republic that had 30 years anniversary, by the way, last year. So it shows Hungary, Romania, that was another big step in development. From an innovation point of view, that was always a driver. We understood very early that sensing is an important key and that we have to develop our portfolio more horizontal. Besides inductives, have capacitive switches, linear devices that came a bit later. But on the other hand, we also understood very early there is more behind the sensor. And for us, it was always a big driver to understand we want to become a complete solution provider. And that means we want to understand the sensing application. We want to connect that to an I/O, decentralized. We were the first that started to believe in the decentralized idea, automation outside of the cabin, intelligence in the machine. Today, this is a standard. When we started that, the market share for decentralized automation in IP67 was a very small one, but we were a driving force building that market. And that was a very, very key moment for us, developing that. And then at some point of time, even deciding to go into the PLC business in a very special niche form, not attacking Siemens or Rockwell, but building the intelligence in an IP67 field bus housing with full PLC functions in order to be able to automate modular machines, autonomous machines, what today you can see in every factory and every logistics center in the world. And I think that has been always those crucial moments. And on the other hand, it's also always a crucial moment that the families, because we were owned by 3 families, now only 2 families own the company. I think it was always important that also the second and the third generation believe in the company, the spirit, and want to be involved as shareholders close to the company and to the strategy that the company has built.
That's all for now. Thank you for this first part of our podcast, the first episode with Christian Wolf, Managing Director of Turck Group. Thank you, Christian, very much.
Thank you, Tomasz, for having me here. It was my pleasure.
Thank you very much, and see you soon. See you on Spotify, on YouTube, and on social media platforms.